going through the financials and talk to you about that. And then the last piece is a presentation to you about how you'll be able to interact with the data, but we have some questions for you. We'd like to hear some feedback to how better design that for your use. And then also another portion of that would be is if you want to have that also could be used to produce for the taxpayer on a website or something like that, for them to be able to see updates as well. So we'll go ahead and dive into here.
And Josh, yes, sir. As we go through this, just don't feel like you got to write down questions and then go back to them. As we're going through this presentation, if you have questions on these areas as we go, let's go ahead and do that as we go.
And please, if you can't hear me as well, I just came back. I've got some allergy stuff from out being at camp with 98 kids, so and 70 staff, so I'm a little congested today, so if I can't hear me, just let me know, please. All right. So first of all, we want to make sure you understand this is a one-time, I've told you before, I've had a project that actually gets to hit every one of our district priorities. And the projects that we're going to cover tonight, everything up here, and you can see we've updated the title for the 2100 and 1701 Hurst Boulevard facility. So I would like to take just a minute. Debbie Williams Activity Center, I understand you guys approved that. And then the Dr. Faye Ballou, I will say Dr. Faye Ballou. She's very humble and did not want that put on there. So the Faye Ballou Family Center, Support Center. Okay, as you can see, we always like to lead off with a win. We've completed the Hurst Junior High Administration Edition. With this, we still may have some warranty work. That's what we'll be doing over the next 12 months. We do come back and do an 11-month walk, so if there's ever something that is outstanding or something that got missed, we come back, we walk with the administration. So we'll do a walk with Ms. Bianca and look through that area to see if there's anything we need to adjust, take care of, or something we might need to make a modification. A lot of times, too, what you'll see with that is when we do buildings, I put in there so we stripe it, but with new concrete, you need to really restripe that again in 12 months. So I put that in there twice. That gets caught in those walkthroughs. So I have Brian Thompson with HPM here tonight. At the end of each one of these slides, you'll see a brief breakdown on what we have left in the jobs for financials. And one thing to keep in mind, 2100 and Hurst Junior High, those two were procured as a contract with both of those. So we'll have those funds, but they've been able to break those out so you can see that. We're completed here at 2100 as well. We will come back later now that the building has been named. We'll make a replacement on there to get the name on side of the building. Inside this, just remember, this is what we would consider a light touch renovation. Where we did the extensive would be the entryway, so that if later on we come back and we want to do something in the building, the entryway is basically finished. Other areas that came into question, you'll see the pool has the nice, beautiful 1990s teal and mauve and pink tile work. I always say, I told Aubrey, I said, don't ever give me a building that looks like a 1990s bridesmaid dress or colors of a wedding in 1990. So walk in this building, that is what you have all over. So if you see some colors like that, that's why, is that we were doing the touches where we could to get us in the building and get it ready, but also not to expend too much so we can come back later and make those long-term decisions of how we want the building. And so through here you can see the front. We got rid of the cool deck on the front and actually made it with the black. All that black metal was all replaced, and then resealing. We still had some issues with some of the rain, so we were still working on that as well. But and if we need to, we'll continue. That'll be throughout the next 11 months. Replaced all the hardware, so all the doors on the exterior do have new crash bars, new hardware, all the new access controls, and it does have all the safety measures that we would have for all of our other facilities, and updated cameras. We did update the server room, so it'll be able to support all this. On the right, you can see the one of our dance rooms. This could be for color guard, it could be for cheerleading, it could be for tumbling and floor routines for gymnastics, however the athletics needs to see fit. Like I said, on top left corner, you can see that entryway that really looks nice. Those of you that have been in a 24-hour fitness anywhere in the last, 20, 30 years, you know that there used to be the hole. That hole is what we infilled. Like I told you before, if you see the picture on the right-hand side, I still have a hard time walking out between those two columns. It just, Texas boy doesn't walk on frozen ice, and that's what I feel like when I'm getting out there. The other one right in the middle, that's one of the other dance rooms that they can also do floor routines. And you can see on the bottom two pictures, that's the pool, and then that's a jacuzzi, but we're calling it a plunge pool because we spent just a little bit extra to gain the ability to make that a hot plunge or a cold plunge. So thinking to the future, that allows us to be able to utilize that for either physical therapy or to prep for if we were ever to have any type of other swim meet or anything like that, you have that ability to push that jacuzzi back and forth as you see. And like you can see there, the beautiful mauve. Again, there's your financials. Okay, 1701, or now the Dr. Faye Ballou Family Support Center is coming right along. This is an SDB job, and then HPM has been overlooking the financials. We're working with Huckabee on this. It is really coming along nicely. You can see it shows that January being the estimated completion date or the opening. Right now, we don't have any concerns that we're going to have any issue with that. SDB and the superintendent, his name is Ricky, he has really kept things moving and making sure his coordination, his schedule is looking good. And like you see right there, we've already seen the pictures following. You'll see that we've ripped off the side of the building and getting ready for that. So here, you're looking north on this is the south side. So we had to tear up a lot of that so we could get the entryway, the ADA ramps, and some planters. And we're going to be adding in another tower. That'll be the stair tower. Where you see that open spot in the middle right next to the elevator shaft, that'll be the new staircase that will support the entire building. And then here on the right-hand side, so keep in mind too, we showed the symposium, we flew our drone in and showed everybody, that's how some of these pictures were taken, so that we weren't putting somebody inside the building during demo, is our drone pilot flew up and actually took some of those shots from the inside. And on the left-hand side, that's from the front, the corner of the building. You see we have to have the scaffolds to be able to access each floor because we took out the staircases, the old elevator shaft you'll see in just a minute, to be able to access and keep everything moving. And inside we're already doing framing, so if you can imagine like the third floor, they've already demoed, they were starting at the top and then working their way down. So on the right-hand side, the top corner, you see we already have steel studs and door jambs going in. The bottom one right there, that's the back, so that's where we found the old elevator shaft. So that's not needed, so we'll be infilling. There was a little bit of a surprise on that, on the fact that it was the way it was enclosed. We knew it had to be somewhere, and then we were able to find that. So not a significant change order, but we were going to have to make a little bit of a change with that. So many of you that toured the building, you can remember the auditorium. You can see the seating has been pulled out. You see all the red carpet that will be being removed as well, and all the demo process there. Left-hand picture, that's the old elevator shaft going all the way from bottom to top. We will infill each of the two floors and be prepped ready for it. So starting to look nice. Again, this is on the top. You can see all the studs, the framing, and even better there. Now this, you see this large space right here. This is the large area that we told you that we would need to infill, and that's what that's going to be. So we'll have the steel be coming in later. They'll run that across and then infill the floor.
Josh, on that
Yes, ma'am.
on the third floor where all of the kitchen and all of the whatever, I mean, is that, did we take all of that out?
Are you talking about the suite on the fourth floor?
Yeah.
Yes. We didn't take all of it out because part of that will be utilized because that's going to become a lounge and a conference area, conference room. So some of that we'll be able to convert over and use that for essentially what the lounge is. And we will also make, just as a side note, all of it will be code compliant. I walked the building officials. I've also walked one of our fire officials through this building, and the building official, when he walked through, goes, "Oh, that's interesting." This was supposed to have been inspected. There were things that were in there that they hadn't inspected. So that's why we go through this process and make sure everything is up to code. Okay, moving on to Hurst-Hills. Oh, yeah. Good, okay. Off to Hurst Hills, many of us were there for the groundbreaking. The interesting thing about that too, if you see the pictures, you'll see in the background, it looks like the building's there. Looks like we haven't started work, but what was not known was on the south end of that building, we had a dozer that was 14 feet underground already because we weren't waiting around, we were already moving dirt. So moving forward, this is targeted to open in July 26. Then we'll have some, just like we did with the other schools where we had to take down the building and we had to finish out the flat work, the fence and sidewalks and that type of thing. That'll all finish out in October 26, sorry. So looking really good. Now you can see some of you at the groundbreaking knew that we had the lane in, but now it's already striped. They actually were able to put more asphalt in and we were able to gain some more parking because we're always going to be short parking as soon as we do construction and staff on a live site. So we were able to put a little bit more asphalt on the backside and tie it right up to the building so Misty can utilize that as much parking as wherever she needs. And then also keep in mind we will have some family nights and things like that. We will need all the parking possible. We'll kind of fly around a little bit. You can see here, the grade beams are already going in. The big hole, that is not a swimming pool, even though it might have filled up like one. That is actually the crawl space that connects a lot of bathrooms. So we'll have a full piece there. Grade beams are in place, and then we're tying over. Oops, I thought we had another picture in there. There's another spot where we're getting ready to put the grade beams in for the shelter. So that's coming along nicely. You can also see the utilities are wrapping around the building for storm. There's also water and sewer that are going in as well. So that's all getting in place as we're moving forward. Just as a reminder what the site's supposed to look like, and you can see that the pink ring around the backside, that's that asphalt that you just saw. And then the placement and how close we are to the buildings. We've already had to make some adjustments. There's a temporary drive to be able to maintain getting groceries into the child nutrition kitchen. We also have to pick up trash on the regular, so that we had to relocate some of the bins. All that has been modified already. And there's your finished site. If many of you remember, we had a citizen come, mom, that talked about the trees in front of the building. I showed her this very site plan showing that you see the playgrounds. There's also the big trees that she was referencing are right along that edge. That was also part of the reason that kind of skewed and we didn't turn it back, was it would put it right back into those trees. So this was the best way of trying to save and salvage those old live oak trees and the oak trees there in the front area. We're also working with the city of Hurst. They've actually added a stop sign in. The mayor came up to me and said he wasn't happy with me because that was his way he cut through, and now I put a stop sign. And so tongue in cheek, he likes it, he understood, but he couldn't drive as fast through there as he wanted to. We are talking. They did ask if we needed a couple extra stop signs. I've connected them with Dan Phillips. He's working with them to see. He said there was a couple spots that they would like to see a couple stop signs. And then as we move forward during the construction process, we're going to have to utilize potentially an extra crossing guard. Once we get the building open, that'll no longer be needed, but right at the moment, because students used to cut through the field, well, now they can't cut straight to where the crossing guard is. We may actually have to cut across the street and then cut back across the street. So we're working with Dan and the city to be able to make that happen. Good. Your financials. Now, in some of these, I want to make sure you understand too. Brian gets to, he'll be talking about this, but this is as everything that has been processed financially up to this point. So some of the numbers may off. You'll see a little bit later that 15,000 shows up. 15,000 is what we paid Core for the pre-construction process, and that was by contract obligation that we did that. This we already have some draws, so that's why you see the $2 million, and that 15,000 is inside of that. Now Midway Park. Midway Park is already moving right along, just getting started. You can see construction begins in July 25th, so it started on time. We do look to open in October 26th, so if you're listening to the last presentation, this one will be opening the building about the time we're finishing up the final flat work and everything for Hurst Hills. And all these are about 3 months off from one another. And there is a method to the madness, because as you go through those phases, everything on these jobs work on about a 3-month. Grade beams, and then to slabs, and then we can move to the next one. So that's why you'll see about a 3-month lag on each one of these. So I hope you can see these pictures, at least on your monitor or up there. On the top left, You can see that the tennis courts, you'll see this again pop up when we go talking about Trinity, but you can see the fire lane that we've already have in place, so we're ready for school and for parking for the teachers. We had to connect Ector to the back of the school versus Trojan Trail to the back of the school. Does that make sense? So we had to switch that. Where we were able to make that connection over. You also see on the bottom one and kind of on the top right, there's a temporary parking lot. That's asphalt that provides extra parking. That's what we lost when we cut the fire lane into the existing parking lot. But also we're able to gain, I think it was a net of about 5 to 8 parking spots over what they already had, so that should give us a little extra buffer. The other thing, and maybe a little harder to see, is on the top right and the bottom, you'll see that you see the existing U-drive like we've always had, but if you come in just from the north a little bit, you see a little black strip. That's because we're having to chop off the tail end of that U-drive so that we can then maintain it. We put in asphalt to make that loop. Can you guys see that?
It's hard to see, but if you look at the U on the right side, and then come in a little bit, there's a dark area, that's a new driveway that has been poured, and that right side of that U is going to go, won't be able to access.
One of the things we have to do once we start the building, we can't go vertical unless we have a fire lane that either wraps completely around the building or significantly enough. And the reason for that is not necessarily for a fire truck always, but it definitely is for an ambulance, for safety, and if we have somebody get hurt. So one of the things we have to do is to put with the drive that's going to be there permanently, it has to be snaked around there. And that's one of the places that drive is going to be able to cut through. So during the summer, we just shortened up the U drive a little bit, and then that will then later allow them to bring the new drive in for the new school. Okay.
Josh, quick question.
Yes, sir.
So this is going to open October 26th, so
Yes.
right in the middle of the fall semester.
Mhm.
How exactly is that going to seamlessly transition?
So it's provide us October. That actually gives us a couple months of buffer to make sure we get our CO, to make sure we can get all the furniture and everything moved in. It'll give us plenty of time of prep to move them in over Christmas. So we tried to do everything we could to keep from having a mid-year move. We did that with Bel Air. We've learned a lot, so as we get to each one of these, it should get smoother and smoother, but we're going to be working with Jess and their staff to be able to purge everything as much as possible, to show them a better example. Darla and I met with Bel Air a couple times to give them a good idea, and also with my staff, Michelle and Kelly and Todd and John, to be able to give them an idea of how that move looks, because it is a very targeted, how would you say, like a Discovery Channel makeover. We're going to move in 2 weeks. Well, that's about what happens. We bring the crews in, move them in over the Christmas break, and then have them come back in. Okay.
And get them to not pack anything you're going to throw away when you unpack. Yeah.
One of the things that was really hard for them to get grasp is, and this has actually been through the entire process, everybody gets so familiar with what we do have, they don't understand what they could have or what they will have. So in this case, they couldn't get their mind around, I've had to snag this file cabinet, and I had to snag that little, and my dad made me this, and my husband made that, to be able to have things in their classroom. Well, at this point, we have a set package that we bring in, and we've been able to do that with all the other schools. We do know the bookcases, we buy extra, but we have a basic set plan for each one of those classrooms. So once we can show that and they understand it, it sinks in at that point. So here, this is on the, if you remember the 2 practice fields, so some of you have seen that all the dirt that's been going over to the hardwood lot, this is basically where it's coming from. Did not want to let go of that nice, expensive 8 inches of dirt, because years ago we put that in, and over all this time we've been fertilizing it, and it is very rich. So we didn't want to just let that go and give it to someone to stick under a freeway. So we've been moving that over to the hardwood lot, and then we can reutilize that back into our sites as we see and as we need to on the other projects, and have nice rich soil. So I've been scraping that off and getting it prepped, and you can already see that they're starting to cut out and bench for the new building. This is the site, so this would be under construction, because you can see the existing school. Now you can see on that bottom piece, you see the fire lane and the access to the back side of the building. And then on the north side, maybe it makes more sense now, you can see where the front drive is shortened, and now you can see the other lane that has to come through for the existing school. And then for right now, it will go up there in deadhead, but later, once the building comes down, you'll see in the next slide, that loop goes on through. Now you'll come into the front of the building, and that loop can go all the way around and go backside behind the new practice fields. There is that parking lot that will be, we'll have more parking on basically on the Trinity side, and then you see all that parking that's right next to the tennis courts. So this is what I've been talking about in the past, is our parking is now going to be kind of broken up over the entire campus. It does provide parking that is more specific to certain programs, rather than parking on the west lot and taking a hike and take your flask and your backpack to get all the way across campus. So now it gets us a little bit closer to some of those locations and makes it a little bit more feasible. Also, keep in mind that the fields, the parking, and the tennis courts are all part of Trinity, okay? So there is a location. If you see up there and you see, what's he got a gate there for? We have that gate because those two gates would be driven by Trinity. So if they ever go into a lockdown, they do the key, it locks all the auto gates. It includes those two gates. So it will secure in. And if you're in the tennis courts, you're secured. If you're on the fields, we just shut those two gates, now you're secured. And so we want to make sure that everybody understands that. And we're working with Midway Park and Jess to be able to show that if she needs to, if she has kids, she can get those kids off that field. If those gates close, a teacher knows you got to go back inside the elementary. But because that is Trinity's property, we need the Trinity to run that, operate it, versus the school.
So what kind of fencing is going down along those practice fields?
Along Ector?
Yeah, along the acre.
Okay, long Ector, it's going to look just like what we put up around the rest of the campus. So you've got the brick columns or pilasters, and then you have the wrought iron going between those. It'll be the same thing. So it's just going to match all the way up, and it'll turn right at the end of those fields where that parking is and go back. And then it does turn back into chain link between Trinity and the elementary until you get back over to the more public space.
Is that just regular fencing, or fencing like the high-speed fencing we had to put along 35?
It'll be the chain link, is like what they have right now. So it'll be that on the back side between the two schools. It'll be the chain link piece there. But we're spending the extra money to go around and enclose that on Ector and Trojan Trail. That's all the wrought iron with the brick columns.
So will they be able, with that parking area that's back there where the new building is, the big parking lot back behind the new school, will people that are in the football field there be able to access that parking area?
We're going to put in some pass-through gates. So after hours, those could be open, they could be utilized. But we're working on it now. One thing, you can see some of the yellow lines. Where that dark yellow is, that means it's a retaining wall. So we would, but we'll have to make sure we place those on either side of that retaining wall.
Right.
And that was the magic to it, is we're trying to utilize that parking there both for, yes, the football field, but also, but also for the tennis, the softball, being over there and seeing Alito play Melissa during the softball. I don't know if you guys were there for that, but I mean, it was the two churches across the street, plus everything that Midway had to offer. I parked on the other side and used my badge to cut through the school because all the parking was used. So this should allow us to be able to have more parking on site rather than pushing that to our neighbors. Okay. Now, if you remember, Midway Park was never part of core, so you don't see that expenditure there. Getting started, we're just waiting for those final pay apps to process and complete before we put those numbers in. So if you're seeing the blanks there, that's what that is. Okay. Wilshire. We haven't even started, except for we have done our testing. We have the fencing up. We have corrected some spelling errors that somehow made it through everybody in the world. But you can see, obviously, we know how to spell Wilshire. And in October, we'll get started over there as well. That'll be the last one to kick off of the three elementaries that we have going. But as of right now, you can see that's just a picture of them testing. And so a testing of a pier, what it means is you'll see that they put a beam across all three. The two of them are going to be pulled against, one's going to be pushed against, and so there's a big jack in the middle, and that's what it's doing, is it's pushing down on one and pulling on the other two, and it just gives us some more accurate data to be able to better design the rest of those piers and to bid those. So since we've done that work, we should have a better and more accurate count on our piers. Okay. Now this one, we do have a lot of work that's going to be similar to Bell in the sense that we have to build some retaining walls that will be basically torn out later at a later date, but it basically holds the new building away from the old building and allows us to be able to stay within close proximity. If you can see that on that north side, we're we're back down to that Oakwood Terrace, 11 feet kind of range. We did put in some temporary drives. Some of that is also going to be temporary walkways to get kids from the front of the building out to the street area or back out to the parking lot so that they can be picked up. All that'll go away at a later date. And you can see the new buildings coming in with the playgrounds, and that would be your final. So nice thing too, and this is one thing that the city really liked, is you can see too, we have broken up the traffic flow on this building to where it doesn't all come off of, I can't remember the one on the south. Anyways, it doesn't all come off the south end of the property. It now comes off of all three streets and allows for a better flow. Okay. And again, there you can see the 15,000. That's what that holds a representative of. Okay, Bell Manor. Not a lot with Bell Manor at the moment. Now we are ready to go ahead and to move forward. We're just, basically this one's an idle. And you can see there as it says construction begins estimated January 26th. And it's pending the completion of the 1701 or now the Fay Ballou Center. And so once we have that, we can then tighten this schedule up and give you a little more accurate numbers. But that's what we're targeting for right now. And if you can see, it'll basically, we'll move everybody out of that building because there's been a lot of questions about this. We'll move everybody out. We will raise the entire building. This is the best, closest that we have to a green site that we will ever have after Arbor Creek and Trinity Lake, so this will be our last one. We'll take the building down, and then we'll start that whole building process. Do keep in mind, while we're doing this, we will be working with Bell Manor. The nice thing is she gets to have it off-site, and then she just shows up. But we'll work with Mike Lawton at Central Junior High because this will provide him a little bit of rub because we'll have to be in there intermingled and tangled up with them. Schedule. Now I do give Brian props for this one too. This is a lot easier to read than the last schedule we had. It was all green. He also tried matching the colors with the school colors so that it helps out with that as well. You can see on the top, the very top one that one's completed. The second one down, we finished it up as well and just working into closeouts and warranty. And then you have your other elementaries along the way. And as we bring this to you, you'll see that line slide across the top. All right, Bell High School. It's the same site plan, not much has changed with this one, but you'll just keep seeing this. Now this is where it starts getting exciting. If you've seen the floor plans, today we were just looking over the floor plans with the school and with special ed and Lisa Carr. You can start seeing the floor come out. We can start seeing the building. As you can look where the yellow is, that's where the first slab has been poured, is that bright white color. That's the bottom of the PAC, or the Performance Arts Center. And then the yellow is where they're getting ready to pour the next slabs. And that's your Performance Arts Center. And you can start seeing the gyms and everything's moving down through there. The big gray rectangle you're looking at the right side, and you see the gray rectangle, that's your courtyard of the new Bell High School. We're using this drone. We're going to start flying around a little bit. So now we're basically on top of the softball field. We're looking to the north. You're looking right on the broad side of the PAC. Now this is why we had to do this. We're starting kind of in the middle of the building, building the PAC, because we're going to have to work our way out as we pour concrete and the ICF and go vertical with the structure. That's why here, the activity center, the basketball arena is going to be the last piece that we build at Bell, but it's the first piece we build at Trinity. Interesting, right here's a closer shot. You can see too, while the last couple of weeks they have utilized early mornings. If you can imagine pouring concrete, one of the concerns of pouring concrete in July when it's the hottest, we don't want that concrete to dry out too fast. We want it to dry out at the speed that we want. So therefore, they're utilizing a process that City of Hurst has provided us, and that is to be able to perform early morning pours while it's the coolest. So they're trying to pour at around 80 to 90 degrees in the morning, and then as it gets hot, they'll try to, if they have to, they put water on it to try to keep it cool. So we don't want it to crack or fracture any more than what it already does. So that's why you see the big lights there. They were doing an early morning work as well. On the right-hand side, what you can see is we're tying into the grade beams that are on the indoor activity center. So they've exposed the bottom grade beam, and they're starting to tie the new ones into the old ones, or the existing. Now, right-hand top side, That is the new field. Actually, we probably have another picture that's even better. I had one on my phone because I just had to show off how good this grass is. It has grown in so nice. I mean, when I say carpet, this isn't fake. This is natural grass, but it is emerald green. It is ready for them to practice on right now. It's actually a new type of grass that they're using on soccer fields, and it actually looks like grass you might see on a fairway of a golf course. So really nice job that Paragon did there. On the left-hand side, a little bit hard to see just because the sun's in it on the, maybe you can see it on the TV, yeah. Those look a little better. But you can see the laydown yard, and you can also see the sidewalks that are leading from the Raider Bowl, and all the sidewalks are now in place to be able to get you from Raider Bowl over to, around, and up to the baseball field. And there's one on both sides of the Raider Bowl. Okay. Just a reminder, the phase 1, that's basically the main portion of the building, and then 2A and 2B. 2A will be to demolish the existing building and all the structures in our way. 2B is to put everything back in place and to finalize and finish out. Any questions? Okay. Schedule. And there's your financials.
Josh, I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
At Bell, just help me out here, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. You're building that building towards the old building, and then you're gonna take the old building down. So how long is it gonna take to take that old building down and do all that?
To do that process is about 12 months. To demolish and then to put all the sidewalks and put everything back into it is around 12 months.
So how, I thought the building couldn't be completed, the front of the building until part of that old.
There's a small portion of the new building. There's some awnings and another piece that comes out the old building has to be out of the way before we can complete that, yes.
So we'll have moved everything and everybody will be in the
Yes.
new building, and then we'll still be using that parking.
Yes, ma'am.
That we've got, the new parking that's
Mhm.
there.
And that parking will be the last piece put back into place. So once we have the new parking and everything striped and that's all done and we can release it, then we'll go strip the asphalt off, and then we'll be putting back in the new practice fields, or replacing those practice fields.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, on the last portion, imagine the patio of your house. You finish the building, you can live in the house, all that's good. You just have that portion that sticks out as a cover. You have to build that on. Mhm. Okay. All right, Trinity. This is a really nice shot. We worked really long on trying to make sure we get the right angle, because we wanted to show on the parking lot, if you can see, that we created different levels, trying to flatten that out a little bit so we didn't have such a grand slope like we do right at the moment. And also, we didn't want it to come down to 157 and be 9 to 10 feet above 157 either, or Trojan Trail. The same site plan. Nice to go from 11 buildings down to 2. Also, even better, I will keep touting this, nice to go from 117 doors and get down to 37. It makes Dan's life a lot easier. Okay, tennis courts on the south side, you can see. We'll see some pictures here in just a minute. You'll be able to see that we're tying in, those are starting to tie in. So we took all the trees down. We now have courts on the west, and the courts on the east are now poured. This here shows that the black is where that courts on the west would be. That's now been poured. You have the section in the middle that we'll have to finish out. Light poles are already up. All this storm is all tied in. The detention pond has actually been working, because you'll see another picture and it looks like a pond. But that's also because we're holding the water at this time, because we don't want to release that because it becomes a nuisance on the street. So later on, we'll open that up and it'll only become a detention rather than a retention. And right here, so you can see another angle of both the fire lane and the tennis courts all in line there. That detention is on that left-hand side. Oops, you go back.
It's in the arrow.
Okay. And so this right here shows a little bit between, that's the west courts of, that are poured, and the distance between that to the new concession stands that we recently built. You can see where that pickup is. All that will become flat area, and that'll be the nice common space for eating, picnic tables. There'll be some ramping. In the corner, right over here on the left-hand side, right where that pile of gravel is, that's where the new storage building will be. It's got the cool-down room, it has the garage, it has storage for tennis, and it has storage for soccer. That's where that'll be. There'll be a retaining wall that kind of joins that and separates the two. And right between where that rig is setting plus the building, that drainage was then tied in recently, and this is one of our drainage issues that we had with softball, where the water was standing on the concrete, the new concrete. So we were able to actually get that. When we said before, it's going to take me a while, we don't have all the pieces in place. Well, now we have all those pieces in place, so now we should be able to get all that drainage is going to pull away from the softball area and then actually drain out into the larger drain system for the tennis. Now on the phase one for Trinity, you can see here we're getting grade beams in place. Let's see. Here you go. This one's a really good shot too. You can see kind of in the middle where there's a row of concrete trucks and they're pouring everything around them. Those trucks are sitting on the new basketball court. That's basically like ground zero, and they're pouring all the grade beams. Everything around it has crawl space because we have so much plumbing. So that's why the courts are flat, but everything else around it has got grade beams and space underneath it. And eventually we'll be tying that phase one into the MAC. It'll look very similar to what you saw over at Bell. Okay. There's your financials. If you see phase phase 1 through 4, 0, again, we haven't done the final payments or any final processing on our pay apps, so that we don't have anything we can show just at this time.
Josh, go back a slide, please.
Okay.
Okay, completion of phase 3 is going to be February 2030?
Yes. And remember, phase 3, the final of the building. So once we're done with phase 3, the VPA, all that's the new art, the new pack, everything on that. Basically, all of our building structures are complete.
That's the walk-in date?
Yes.
So as we do this, as we finish things, people are going to be moving into the new parts of the building.
Yeah, so the difference between Bell and Trinity, the thing I tell everybody is what's easy at Bell is hard at Trinity, and what's hard at Trinity is easy at Bell. And the difference would be at Bell, we will build the entire building. We will move everything into the building, and they'll just take over all of it at one time. Whereas Trinity will get their, basically it's the P building. So the P is built first, that's phase 1. We'll move all that in, then we'll take down the remainder of the P building. And there's another piece, a portion in there. We'll build the new A building, which is, A, S, and the library. So we can take all those down. And that will then allow us to take down the rest. The last portion would be the A building and the VP, the Performing Center will all be last.
Where's Fine Arts going to be?
Fine Arts doesn't have to, that building will stay. It's the last thing to come down. Yep. Okay.
Hang on, go back real quick. Can you go back to the schedule?
Yes, sir. A schedule?
Am I reading the last two lines incorrectly? One has it going out to February 2030, and the one before it has it going out to May 2028, but it's on the same plane.
Phase 2, phase 3.
Josh, you
No, and it doesn't work on the,
oh, it doesn't work.
it doesn't work on screens. I can do it up here.
Oh, right there.
I think,
That one versus that one.
yeah, but I think where it says phase 2 instructional building, its line, I think, is to the left.
Yeah, they're staggered, but not by very much.
No, but I don't know why there's two,
So it should be here, if you go by those dates.
but I think, Matt, those words go to the one that's directly left of it.
Yes.
So I don't know why there's two, why do we have two bars?
Oh, it's the 2A,
Because you have phase
It's-
4 is not showing.
the phase 4 is not showing. Phase 4 would be,
Tear down?
That's correct.
yes,
It's the parking
demo,
lot.
fencing, parking lot, flat
That
work.
last
Be
line
on
is-
the, that should be to the right of that.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
But the slide would cut all that writing off.
This is the one from May.
Sorry.
Tennis is gonna get in October.
October.
When will tennis be done?
October.
October?
This is not the one on the screen.
Right now, Mike Fielder has an agreement, I believe, with the city of Euless. I think that's where they're going over to the tennis courts that are off of North Main and like Midway, I believe that's where it was. But if we need to, we can confirm with him, but he has that plan.
There's a bar that doesn't have to correspond with the line. Yes. That last part.
Okay? Sorry.
There's no question about it.
Not on that one. Josh,
Yes.
forgive me for making you go all the way back.
No worries.
I need to see 3 slides again. Can you show me the financials of the first 2 buildings that are completed? And then, Joe, Ty, this is going to be added to the board docs at some point, right? For the public? Or for us? Yes, right.
I can add it to it if it's not too big.
Oh, okay.
I tell you what,
Because I would,
if you can give us, let's get to the next 2 presentations and let's see if we answer your question.
I just want to see one number on the financials of the first
Okay.
2. It'll take me 3 seconds. I just want to see it real quick. I think that's the Debbie Williams and the Fay Blue. I just need to see the financials real fast. That was one of them. Give me a second. Okay. Go back to the other. All right, stop. Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Brad,
Yes.
definitely fit in the board SLT presentations
Oh,
folder.
okay, thank you. Okay. I'm good, Josh, thank you.
Okay. Outside that was the last slide. I can exit out and go all the way to the bottom if you need me to.
Can you go back to the Hurst Junior High Administration budget slide?
Let's see. That one?
Yeah, are we holding any retainage?
Do we?
Right now we are, we're still holding.
Yes, we are.
How much of that 184 is retainage?
I believe that's it.
5%.
5%.
That's all it is.
5% of 2 million? So 2.
Okay, other than the retainage, do we expect to pay out any additional portion of that 184?
There'll be some, we tend to have some other payments that come out of that, but it's not significant. Nothing major, so if you're trying to calculate what that, of the 184 is going to be left over, the significant portion of that will be. And we'll just take that and it's going to be rolled right back down into the other budgets.
And 100% of that balance returns to the school district?
Yes, sir.
So on the, I think it was on the Debbie Williams Center, all right, the soft cost. So the crew budget and then expenditures to date is 23,600,000 more than budget.
No, that's,
No, 17 million more.
no.
Not 23.
Yeah, that's my, that was my question.
Yeah, that's why I-
We're 17 million in the hole here?
No.
The second time
No.
you showed it to me, I made it a positive. So I think
Let's pull those numbers.
That's the
Josh.
value we have
Yeah.
for the architect. If we have a different one, then
We'll compare that, because that's what we're saying, is that's from the architects, the numbers we had from the originals. So we'll review that and double check that. But we're not in the,
I mean, it doesn't make sense that our soft cost would be 24 million and our hard cost would be 530,000 if we've done the job. And so the numbers are switched or.
yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay. All right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Brian Thompson with HPM. He's going to walk through more of the financials with you.
do we have the master budget by chance? Okay, that's fine. I mean, we can just go through these items. So as you'll see on some of these, there was just a value that was very limited, and that's because until we have expedited costs, we're not going to actually put it in there. And some of these, for instance, like the high schools, we are still waiting for some key items like a baseline schedule, the daily reports that need to be provided with the pay apps. So once we have those, then we can start processing them. So right now, yes, you're going to see probably a big bump over the next month of pay apps that are catching up 2 or 3 months, but right now, that's why the values are showing as they are. Does that make sense?
Josh, we do the next.
I mean, as a board, I don't think it's going to make sense until we understand where we are on the pay apps versus where we are on the project. That's what we want to make sure is in
Agreed.
alignment. So, just knowing how much we paid out doesn't really tell us much if we don't know how much work.
That's correct.
percentage of the work's been done.
And that's why it's so important to have this baseline schedule, so I can show you exactly what percentage complete is to the value that we've paid out so far.
The other thing too is when we set up our schedule, your Friday update, when we do the master budget, that will all be in that portion too.
But what we're about to go through, are they updated numbers today?
As of
As of
today.
Friday.
Yes, or Friday.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. The next piece would be, we're going to show you the Power BI. Yes. Now, what we'd like to do is show you a way for you to be able to look at these numbers. So essentially, any confusion we have right now, this is one of those where you could dive into it. And my preference is to have it set up so that all numbers that are coming on Friday, that we would have it updated by Friday at 5 o'clock. 5:01, you could dive into this with a link. You can look at all this in timely fashion, however you would like. You could look into as much detail as you would like to get down to a micro level, as much as what HPM can provide on that. If you need it adjusted, we could do that. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you basically 3 models that would be able to get you into an idea of what we can do with this. Now, Power BI is just a software to be able to allow you to dive in. I think some of you may have already used something like this, but it'll allow you to look at the budget and go into each job. You can back out and you can say, I just want to know what the dashboard looks like for the overall. But if you wanted to get down into Bell Manor, you can dive right all the way down as deep as the data that we have. Now, this pulls out of a spreadsheet, essentially. So as soon as those are updated, the link, the software would be updated. But I'm going to turn it over to the experts, to Megan and to Pierre, to be able to explain this to you a little better.
Josh, before we leave, I have one
Yes.
quick question. On the new gym, as soon as it's finished, is it going to be usable?
At Trinity? Yes.
Okay, where's the staging going to be for the next building? Is it going to be the parking lot?
Okay, hang on a second. Let me switch gears.
We're hurting for parking, and I wonder if that will open up any more parking when the new gym is available.
It will open up some parking, because we'll have the parking with the fire lane that wraps around the building, and there's a little bit of, on the east side, there's going to be some parking. You have the parking that's right in front of the building, that should be in place, but we still need that D lot to be able to get ready to do the A building and the courtyard and all that area. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for having us tonight. As just mentioned, we've worked on creating a dashboard for specific to your bond program. We got a chance a few weeks ago to present it to the executive leadership team, and now welcome your comments and input on it so we can tailor it to what you would like to see and maybe potentially even the public to see. So I'll turn it over. Megan and the team have been working on creating that. I'll turn it over to her so she can show you what we have so far. But again, as was mentioned early on, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to interrupt us. It's going to be a fairly interactive presentation.
Hi, I'm Megan Cordingley. I am the Senior Business Analytics Manager for HPM, and all of the dashboards that you're about to see, I create. So I'm the developer behind the dashboards. So Power BI is a business intelligence data analytics software. If you've used it before, you probably are familiar with its capabilities, but it's similar to something like Tableau or Qlik or Looker Studio for other data visualization software tools. I'm most familiar with Power BI, working for a Microsoft entity. And so what I'd like to do is just show you guys in an interactive way what these softwares can produce in terms of interactive dashboards. I think one of the most brilliant things that these software tools can do is connect to a variety of data sources. There are over 100 data connectors for Power BI. That means you can bring data in from different places. And I know that in my career, I've dealt with a lot of problematic data silos, or where information is stored in one place and things don't talk, or having to click through a content management system that takes a long time to get to the information that I'd like to find. And so Power BI gives us the ability to bring it all into kind of a one-stop shop and surface all of the information at a high level and allow you to do a deep dive analysis on your own if you wish. So without further ado, I'd just love to pull some up and show them to you. So this is an example of a very kind of simple, high-level dashboard that we've created for HEB. This pulls data directly from Procore, and it can refresh up to 8 times a day, so it's near real time. You can see that we're able to report by categories, and all of this data, as it's updated in Procore, does not have to be manually changed anywhere else. It's just going to show on this dashboard at its next refresh. So you can look at things differently in terms of your categories, like your types of schools or special facilities. Just have a high-level overview. You can also see things graphically on a map, for example, and you can see your different types of facilities as they're categorized in Procore there. You can look at a budget tab, once again pulling from your Procore budget. So this data should match exactly what's in all of your different Procore sites, but it's giving you the convenience of having them just a few clicks away instead of having to go to different Procore sites. You can drill down into a specific project and just see that project's budget. You can select a few if you wish. So it's very customizable, very interactive, and allows you to get at exactly the information that you'd like to know by filtering in real time what's on the screen. You can have different views that have, more of a table view or matrix of the data that allows you to give kind of a hierarchy view where you could easily expand or collapse that menu and see your, budget, your revised budget, committed costs, and to-date costs. And you can also put a schedule on here. I know that we've seen some schedules for the schools so far, but you can just get a high-level view of the entire program at a glance, which is sometimes nice to see. This can also be plotted hierarchically, so you could see different phases of the projects by expanding these. That isn't set up right now, but it certainly is a possibility. Actually, I would say the limit is just your creativity. So
that includes the tear down.
Yeah, but you're tearing down one building at a time.
Yeah.
So that when the total school is done, every building's done, is
Yeah,
it
the
2030 or 2031?
I think 31, because the kids will already been moved in 30.
It's domino, so the last building, all the other buildings are built, and you have one building to go.
It's only related to the last parking area that has to be built. That's near the
Yeah, that final, like Bell is going to be a
So
year.
when people ask me when it's going to be completely done, what's the date?
31.
31.
31. When are they going to be moved in? The last group.
Well, they'll move in the basketball one.
Yeah, that'll be the first move in there is.
Are there any questions about this specific dashboard before I flip over to another example?
I think there's more questions about what's on it, not more than just the dashboard.
Thank you.
It's just the-
This is one that we created that was for public consumption. So it was for a previous bond program. And the purpose was to give the general public an idea of the schedule and when certain projects would be coming online, as well as just, high-level information about the projects and understand what current stage that they're in. So obviously, they could go to this. This was a public link off of this school district's website. And then they could click into the detail and get a little bit more information about that project, see some of the renderings and what it was going to look like. The public is always curious about that. Get just an isolated view of that schedule and just kind of KPIs and data related to just that particular program. Has a project team if they need to, contact anybody about the project. And then just a little map that shows them the context of where that project is, along with a description. And of course, they can select different projects if they wish from this selection, and it would change that information that's on that page. So just a very high-level way for the public to view a lot of data just in a really nice, organized way.
Yeah, before we move on to this one, so that's
Sure.
basically going to be one of our big questions for tonight, and we don't necessarily have to answer tonight, but start thinking through it. All those dashboards are customizable. We can literally show pretty much anything we want, but it's like, do we want a public-facing dashboard, which has a more, kind of like this one, summarized version of the budget and the schedule, and then internally, is for you and for the rest of the ELT, a more in-depth dashboard with the information of where you can drill down a bit more, but not necessarily, we don't want to show necessarily all the costs for all the architects, and the different consultants. As we're still procuring some of them, we probably want to keep that information a bit in-house until we've, kind of vetted everybody. So that would be one of the questions that we're trying to answer tonight is, public-facing versus internal.
Can I ask you, so this is very nice. What was the feedback from the public like when you put this one up?
Every community is a bit different, and the engagement on the online version of it, that community really liked Facebook, but we were also able to link for that. So we would get click, and we would get some questions sometime coming up. But again, every community, some of them are more online based, and some of them prefer to have Facebook was a big piece on that district. To broadcast information, but again, it's a link that can be shown and looked on a smartphone, iPad, computer, and so we for the people looking at it, we do get good feedback, but I can guarantee that the whole population doesn't necessarily look at it. But for the one that do, they do appreciate it. We can also post at some version, like this program is now mostly done, but at some version of this dashboard, we had an announcement if we're going to do, a road closure because of construction or power shutdown or things like that. That's also something that can be posted on another way to kind of bring awareness to that interruption.
The idea is to have your information in your singular content management system, in this case Procore, and have it tracked there, but be able to surface it in different places or one Power BI report so that you're not having to rekey information and manually input it into other Excel sheets or Word documents or whatever it may be. So this kind of helps bridge the Procore gap to the public.
So I have a couple comments and thoughts on it. From a board perspective, I really like the budgetary one. It's really good. However, I would ask PR to think it through, and maybe the rest of us think it through. We are in the process of doing a lot of schools at the same time. And now that I have a kiddo starting at Trinity, and I know Andy's going to echo this, as we have multiple schools going on, we may also be creating questions and thoughts that we haven't necessarily wanted from the public. first thing is like, why is Trinity taking till 2031 when Bell's done? We may be generating, we have the possibility of generating more problems for ourselves than we may be answering questions. I just want us to be real cautious on how we QA this. And that's my next question. There would be a QA that would go internally to at least us and executive before it went to the public for some of these questions that and thoughts that would come up first, right?
Yes, these certainly don't have to be available for public consumption. They can, be access controlled and put behind specific login credentials while it's reviewed, vetted, and that QA process takes place.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good to have the information out there and have transparency. I mean, if it brings up questions, it brings up questions. But, in terms of the board side of it and the ELT side of it, I guess, I mean, it's hard for us, not all being part of the project every day in construction. Some of us have more construction experience than others. But, if you don't have a good understanding of where the project is and how much of it's completed versus how much has been spent, from a governance standpoint and, our responsibility to the community, that's where it really, that's the only way that we'll ever know, are we staying on budget? Are we staying on track? Are we staying on time? Is if we have some way to link, the schedule versus the budget and know that we are where we're supposed to be. So I don't know how that piece can be worked in, or if that's something that can come out of Procore in terms of, total billing versus budget for each aspect, and come and roll that up into like a overall, here we are on the project, we're, 58% done, and we've spent, 56% of the budget, hopefully that's the way.
Hopefully less, yeah.
Yeah, there is certainly a way to pull that out of Procore
Yeah.
to track the percent of costs complete.
And I'm assuming you can add, to Mr. Campos's point, annotations, narratives, that sort of thing. So it's not just charts and figures, but something that maybe speaks to people a little more.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm thinking
Yep.
that's what we need for because we're in charge of the governance of this project. But in terms of what's public facing, I think it can be a little bit more generic and just more informational. That's
I think it's good to put it out there to the public, but like, for example, I mean, things are going to happen. I mean, life happens. Sometimes you have a schedule for something and then something happens, So, I mean, is there a way to, say that, hey, this is, if somebody really is tracking it and saying, oh, I saw this was supposed to be done at this time, but, now it looks like it's not. So is there a way to kind of let the public know, hey, this is something that we've run into? Like, I don't know, we find a rare dinosaur bone somewhere that somebody comes in and we have to extract it. I mean, it sounds stupid, but I mean,
No,
No,
we've
these
seen
these
some,
things
yeah.
happen, yep.
it's happened,
Th-
so.
Things are found underground that delay projects, yes. And the answer is yes. I am forever an optimist and will do my best to integrate whatever kinds of annotations or notes or anything that would make this work for your community.
Yeah, there's different modules on Procore that we can kind of customize a little bit to
Yep.
create an event, like you say, if there is a major things happening on site, that we would talk with the communication department and just make sure, that the message is the same.
Right.
But outside of that, yeah, we could link it. We could link if, HEVIZ on their Facebook post or something like that with an official message, we can create a link there too. Again, it's a very customizable content, so pretty much anything that you guys would want probably can be done.
Yeah, I mean, something like when we were building the Buinger, I'm sure Josh remembers this. They found, I don't know if it's gasoline or oil in the soil, and we had to backtrack and
Yeah.
they had to do wells and cleaning and all that kind of stuff, and it cost millions of dollars.
Yep.
Stuff like that might come up. Hopefully,
Absolutely.
it
Hopefully not, but never know. Yeah. You want to go around?
Yeah.
All right, this dashboard is slightly different. It was created in preparation of a new bond program, and so more looking, instead of the construction project, it's going to look more at the enrollment, utilization, the facility condition, and how we call it the adequacy, but it's comparing the use of the building compared to the ed specs that you guys create when you want to pass a new bond. So again, can show district-wide, can show different level of, grading against that facility condition index. In this case, we're also showing per year what it would cost to bring all the facility to a under 10-15% FCI index, facility condition index. So that's some of the data that can be pulled, and again, that can be pulled from Procore, a Excel spreadsheet. If you want to go to the next one, we can also.
So this would require doing a new
Yes.
evaluation of
Yes,
all our
exactly.
facilities.
As you're updating your facility condition assessment, and also if you want to ever prepare for a new bond, that's required now to pass new bonds, to do those kind of study on the building. But again, calculating the utilization, so based on the enrollment, the FCI, and you can see over the years, hopefully that works with
It will.
you can see over the years how the schools kind of move around on the condition assessment and the school utilization. It kind of gives you an idea, okay, the next 5 years, here's what I may need to do on that building. If they start going too high on the FCI index, so there's probably some heavy renovation that needs to take place. And on the utilization, meaning the building is we're gonna need to build something close by to kind of take away some of the students. Like they have different learning communities or different path feeder pattern. We can select, down select to that, change the number of years or the type of school. So really customizable. There is some campus summaries if you really want to go to that next tab.
Yep. We'll clear that filter.
Campus summary, it's one of the high schools that they have. Again, all the data pulling in a different view, more specific, kind of show the educational adequacy scores, utilization. Again, just if we want to drill down a little bit more, and then even more on the facility condition on that last tab, kind of show the cost. If that's the cost, if nothing gets done on the building, here's the cost that it will take to return the facility to a, basically new state. So it goes up quick if there is no maintenance, and that's why, all those schools pass new bond frequently. So new roof, new HVAC, the costs really start ramping up. So
So it's
How are you, go ahead, Matt.
it's performing a facility assessment, part of what we're going to talk about in October at the facilities meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
How are you calculating the utilization?
we need to get a clear detail from our planning group, but they look at the enrollment and the projected enrollment compared to the building capacity. And on the FCI piece, they look at, they do that FCA study. If it's not something that's being done regularly, they come back in and walk all the schools and then get all the data on when was it built, and then based on that, there is a software that kind of helps forecast those costs based on the renewal, the roofs, the HVAC system, the paint.
If you remember, a few years ago, it's been a while, we actually performed a density study with another company, and that would be part of where that information, we would do some of that work again. The problem, we weren't able to utilize it because our data was so fractured and didn't have everything we needed to be able to make it have value like this. So moving forward, we would do that, plus our condition assessment, put it all together. That's where this becomes valuable at that time.
And especially when it comes time to pass a new bond, you need that community support and be able to show them, if you don't pass anything, here's what it's going to look like. That really is also helpful. So,
I would have loved to have that document on the last bond. As we talked about, Josh would be talking about the ed specs, but we had a lot of words and charts, but we didn't, that diagram of showing the size of the building and was the education, adequate, the adequacy of those buildings, and where did it rate? We talk about our undersized classrooms, undersized square footage, et cetera, and it showed that, and you could obviously see the green build, and they were small, so they were probably elementaries, and show the big red, which was probably a large high school that did not have the capacity that it needed. And so that was I thought that would be, for a future bond, would be a very strong visual to explain what you're talking about.
The other piece I like about this too is we will talk about more about this when we get to the facility meeting, and that is, we perform that facility condition assessment. You put all this together. This is how, we've been talking about this for a couple of years. When all the stars align like I want it to be able to provide you, you'll have a budget for your capital outlay, not a budget for your operations. Just like we do for operations, I'll bring you a capital outlay budget. So each year you would know. And if you want it, and I get hit by a bus, you could look out there and see on your own what we anticipate what would be in 34, 35, 38, whatever that might be. We can give you kind of a rough estimate by doing just this. But we need to keep those facility condition assessments on the regular. That goes along with your planning for your bonds, and then you'd have a visual to be able to follow that.
When you work that close to the transportation department, I don't know if you should say if I get hit by a bus.
Yeah, I said I've tried that once and it didn't take, so absolutely.
So that was a few examples of, what Power BI can do. I think, it looks like we might be interested in going to a external versus internal dashboard, so we'll make note of that. And I think, especially for your internal dashboards, think about what question you'd like to answer, what things you would like to see, instead of us telling you, here's what he can do, because he can do pretty much anything. So what question or concerns you have, and communicate that back to us, and we'll make sure to create a tool that hopefully answers those concerns.
Yeah, I mean, I think these facility construction, detailed charts would be great to have, but we'll need to talk about those.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I remember last time we did a facilities assessment, it wasn't a cheap process. So to keep it current, we'd have to talk about how often are we going to have to relook at buildings. It was kind of cool seeing those things move around, but how often are you actually having to evaluate all your buildings to make that happen and know where everything is on a year-to-year basis. So that's something to talk about, but that sounds like more of a future project than a today project.
Well, no, that'll be October of deciding, and again, making that decision as to when do we do it and how do we make sure that that data is going to be relevant for when it will matter.
Yeah.
But we also have to have the data to make the decisions leading up to that.
So in October, that's what our plan is to bring you that and to be able to show you that and how that value stays. Okay. Right, so, excuse me. So one thing, just to kind of wrap this up, is to show existing right now. We'd be able to show you as an example tonight. Not having a slide in here, you see how the disjoint goes. We'd be able to have this. You could walk out and you can pull that up. You would know that before you walk in here. You would know our data from Friday at 5 o'clock moving forward. This also then can provide that transparency that we've been looking for all the way out to the taxpayer. We're not hiding anything. You said too, like for schedules, yeah, something can happen, and I have no problem explaining when something does. This is what it is. We're not doing anything to try to hide something like that, so we definitely want that out there. So I think that something like this provides that, all those answers for us. And then looking to the future, it's going to be something that if we maintain it and use it the right way, it'll be able to set us up for more success moving forward.
And Josh, just so I'm seeing it too, like schedules delays can happen and things will move the schedule. Is there a way to make sure that we can see the original schedule and then deviations from it, so we're not just changing the schedule? That way, because if you miss the moment where it changed, then it's just a new schedule. Is there a way, because it is what it is. And if we get a month of rain, we know we lose some time. And if things happen, tennis courts, we buy different land, we move, we delayed. But is there a way to, like, here's the time frame and here's where we're at, and this is what has happened? I mean,
Absolutely, that's something we can do. And especially with something like this, being able to provide that communication back. I think this would be, as a board member, I would like to have something like this, because if I was asked a question, I could go, hang on just a second. I could look that up and I could have an answer back in the instant. Or have time to dive into it to be able to look at the old schedule. There's a lot of things we can do. When we said this is customizable, that's what I did not want to do, is bring you and tell you all the things and when you're sitting there, you're trying to custom design something. We wanted to show you some examples so you can go, I like this, this, and this, and then we put it together and make our own. So what I ask you to do would be this. If we could utilize, Dr. Joe, if it's okay to utilize the plus delta feedback, and you could provide us through that, then I will get that to HPM and we'll start that process of building just that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to set our goal dates now and say these are set, and then because sometimes you make up some time. And,
Absolutely.
and
Right, Bell's ahead of schedule
yeah, it's,
today.
so, in any variation from, what the target that we set now, that has some explanation to it. But, if we lose a month here and then we gain a month here, it's not going to make a big difference in the end, but, having the explanation of why we're missing those dates is very important.
And as you heard from Brian too, that's one of the reasons, like, we need the schedule, we need something solid. Scott can provide us some, and we have a lot that we've been looking at, but until that is nailed down and secured, he can't give us that until he has everything bought out and then has schedules from subs. So in doing that, that's why we weren't able to, we'll have to tighten this up anyways. Just, and some of those, that's where those gaps are at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, I think having the dashboards that's pulling straight from the source data is going to be really good for us because I feel like those are going to be numbers that we can trust. We get frustrated as a board when we see things like a few of the slides we saw tonight that don't match up with,
Right.
they don't match up with logic and they don't match up with anything else we've seen. So, if we had received this, any of this presentation ahead of time, we may have caught some of that stuff and been able to point it out and get it fixed before we were sitting here in public, looking at it and trying to figure it out. But, I think that's just a frustration sometimes from the board when the numbers don't make sense and they don't line up and we have a schedule that's missing a description and it doesn't match what we see on a different slide. We just need to make sure that all that stuff is tight so that we feel confident as a board that these numbers are accurate.
I completely agree, and just like what Megan said about siloed information, trying to put something like this together, I'm looking at one, and all it has to happen is for one of us to be on the wrong version, and then we have a mistake. So that's why I like this, and to me, this illustrates just that our point is, you have something like this, we can all be on the same page, we'll all pull from the same data source, we'll have that information.
Is a projected schedule being provided to us with each pay app?
That's part of the requirements that we have, and so, again, you can see why some of those pay apps haven't been paid. That's because we're waiting on that schedule. That's one of the big deliverables that we're waiting for.
So if we state that a school is going to be done on X date, are we going by our schedule or the schedule we're getting from the updated pay app?
We have to go by what's on the pay app, because there's other factors that go into that. So you're looking at any type of delays, and that's written into the contract. Some of those are act of God. They could be also in the years past. I have not paid a pay app for beyond the time that we were supposed to, for the fact of I have to get an acceptable pay app before I can then make process on that. And so there was a time when we held one for more than 30 days is because I hadn't received what I was supposed to. So in that case, yeah, we would have to make those adjustments.
So is the project schedule that we've seen tonight derived from the pay app schedules?
They're derived from, yes, the original schedule that we received when we did the GMP.
Yes, from the GMP.
So
The original schedule from the GMP, but not the pay app schedule.
Right. Well, because we have to, again, on some of those jobs, we haven't even received a pay app that we can make payment off of. So once we tighten those up, then we'll have
Here's
it.
the GMP schedule, not
Yes.
the pay app schedule.
Yes. Well, we actually have some of those. We had on the elementary, we do have one of those.
Are there any pay app schedules on Trinity or Bell? Or are those
On Bell,
GMP
yes.
schedules?
Bell is actually a baseline schedule.
Yeah, baseline schedule for Bell.
Trinity is somewhat of a baseline schedule. There were a lot of mistakes in it, and they're trying to improve that.
Can you come up to the microphone, please?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, until we get a final baseline schedule from Trinity, because right now we received somewhat of a baseline, but it had a lot of errors in it.
Can you tell us about the errors that you're seeing in the schedule?
Yes, basically, we had things that actually they weren't flowing properly. Their critical path they had things in there that shouldn't have been on the critical path. So as we pointed those out, they know that they were missing that. Like, for instance, submittals as far as long lead items, durations, mock-ups, items that we needed in there that would critically affect things starting. We need to make sure they were in there so that we had something we could follow with the true baseline. So we've been working closely with Joris. They are that close to it, and we expect to have it by the end of this week or early next week. So at least we will have a baseline that everybody has agreed to.
Do you expect that baseline schedule to be in line with the projected schedule?
Yes, I do. It's just going to have a lot more detail to it. And I mean, The difficult part with Trinity, I mean, you have to give Joris a little credit for that, is because with the third phase and the fourth phase not being available until 3 or 4 years out from now, it is really difficult for them to try and nail that down. But we still have a duration that they need to hold to. So once they do that, you know, even if it's not in detail for phase 3 or 4, at least it's nailed down so we have something. And that's where we can have a schedule that shows you the baseline compared to where they're actually at currently. The baseline will never change unless everybody agrees to it when there's a significant change. Other than that, you will easily see where things are moving and flowing within the schedule.
So I think it's important for us to have a clear understanding of exactly where we are, is to have the baseline schedule compared to
That is
the
correct.
pay app schedule that you get
Yes.
every month.
Yep.
So we have an idea of what we're projected and where we actually are.
That's correct. Yep, that way each month when it changes, then we require a narrative as well that tells us what did we add to it, what did we take away, what moved, what was delayed, so we can lay everything out and understand the schedule for that month.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Anyone have any questions? Are you just talking about on this?
I think we're just talking this, so. Okay.
Okay.
So at this time, we'll work on getting the information we need for HPM. Josh is ready to answer basically any questions we may have on any of the projects.
I want to go back to 2100 Park Plaza. Can you pull up the slide with the budget?
Brian.
I've seen that recently.
I'll tell you what, let me do. You said 2100?
Yes. Okay.
Is it that one?
Yes. So has the GMP changed in the last 3 months?
No.
Okay. So I'm looking at the last bond presentation you gave us in May, and it has a GMP of $2.3 million.
Okay, so this, remind me on the numbers on this. This is a joint contract.
Correct, I have a hard time answering this one just because this is one that's outside of the bond right now, so I have a difficult time answering that just because I wasn't part of that GMP.
Okay, let's set this. Do we have a guaranteed maximum price for the 2100 Park Plaza project?
Actually, no, that wouldn't have been a GMP, that would have been a CSP. That's actually labeled wrong.
Okay. Do we have a CSP for the 2100 Park Plaza
Yes,
project?
yes.
What is it?
I'll have to get that number. I'm sorry. I need to make sure that that's right.
Yeah, I've never seen this project upside down. That's what
No.
Well, in May, it was $2.3 million, and now it's $7.6 million.
2.3.
I need to pull that contract.
If you don't mind, can we bring that number back?
I mean, if anybody can answer it now, I don't really want to leave it right now. I'd like to talk about this. This is really important.
I understand. I want to make sure that number is right too, because there's already so much confusion around
To
it.
do it, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if we could, while we're having this discussion, if somebody could figure out what we're doing here on, 2.3 in May and 7.6 now, I think we need an answer to that.
Okay. Trying to think how I can get to that number quickest.
Matt, I'm taking a 10-minute break. If we want to just
Yeah, we can
reset.
take a break.
Yeah.
We're not doing this
Can do
in
it.
front of everybody.
Yeah, that's fine. Will that give you enough time, Josh?
Yes. I can have time to pull up a computer, get into a drive, and I can pull those numbers.
All right, so the board,
For a
all
recess?
right, board is in recess.
Thank you.
August, once I
And I might know.
first thing I did. Without good explanation. I know.
This one, yeah, when I saw that negative 17. That's my Sitting down there and I'm thinking, no, don't say anything
So I did that for a really long time, I left that though, and I worked actually. That's why, yeah.
Which results in, but if we tried to project.
I know.
And we fell short, we'd be in real trouble. Hi. You know what? Thank you.
You wanted to pay time for that.
Maybe. Maybe. Thank you, Cicely.
I think you've just been golfing all day
You know what? If the day ever presents itself when I run out of work and I can go to the golf course, I'll be ready. But it hasn't happened yet.
Convocation.
What do they look like?
Well, they're black.
Oh,
They
okay.
say, we are HBIC.
Oh, okay, I'm
So
fine.
our new logo.
Okay.
So I don't care.
I will wear whatever you want us to
And let me
wear.
tell you why I don't care. I cared. And then Joe said he's not gonna wear one. So I can't ask y'all to do it if he's.
Joe's not wearing one? No, I'm not wearing one.
So.
Oh, come on. About the mud issues, any concrete, extra concrete, the batting cages where mud is, there's no concrete around there. We talked about that. So what's the status on that? Or is that a factor that's because we've got so much construction going on over there? I know we've got drainage issues there with water.
Trinity baseball. Okay. Trinity baseball, we've met with with civil engineer, we've also met with Joris. We're looking at that what has already been in a temporary or immediate fashion. We've already laid down what's called Curlex. It is going to help with the erosion, supposed to slow down any type of more mud that was making it down to the flume that was originally designed. Civil looked at that. We're going to turn that flume a different direction and take the water a different, out from underneath the home side stands. They are going to be doing, Joris is going to do that work, and they're going to be working on that into the future. But right now, also silt fence to help slow down the mud and get that out there as well. We're not going to be able to stop the water. We're just going to stop the mud is what we're looking at. And so they'll be able to direct that water flow across to the third base side or to the visitor side and down the existing flume that's under the stands. And that's what we were able to find out. That work should be starting, the temporary Curlex and silt fence should already be in place. The concrete, it'll just take a little bit of time until we can get the right drawings from the civil to be able to get that corrected.
Okay. Tell me what is the final thing on the MAC and the back, the indoor centers, the ventilation situation? Have we come up with a solution to that yet?
Yes, we spoke to this quite a while back. Mentioned that we were putting in the exhaust fans. They're going to be on the roof. That is at both Bell and at Trinity. And I think the question came up as far as concern of sound or noise. Should not be. The motors and everything sit on the top side of the building. They will be exhausting and pulling air from inside, so there shouldn't be any concern there. Is this common? Yes. When we walked and built the indoor activity centers originally, we walked a number of them, including Highland Park. Highland Park has one on the side of the wall because similar to what we're going to have is their building covers over half of their indoor activity center, so they had to put in basically an exhaust wall, so very similar. As far as sound, I just don't know how that would be. It's going to translate down to the ground. You got a soft floor. We have insulation on the walls. We have insulation in the ceiling. No more than what you already have with the big fans that are in there right now.
Okay. On CTE, I asked, and this is in regards to Trinity High School, there were some things that I put in my email to you about the design needs specific for journalism and yearbooks. Things like the perimeter seating. I know this is all kind of interior, but as we build these buildings, we have to have some of this stuff in mind. So as we're building it, we know what these rooms are going to look like. A window between the office and the classroom, storage space, and just the concern about space for, they have plotters and studio backdrops and things like that. So, have we gotten to that stage yet, or has anybody talked about that or gotten that information?
Absolutely. We've actually reviewed that again with Lisa Carr and with Ronald Pugh, Dexter, Lindsay. Our team looked at all that. There are some adjustments that could be made as far as a window that was seen as not necessary for where it's at, storage. We looked at some spaces that may even be able to combine the offices and turn into larger storage space to be able to accommodate for the plotters, which were already being taken into consideration. Seating is part of your FF&E package, as you know. As far as moving seating to the outside edges, that's not a problem because none of it is attached to the floor. So you can move your seating. However, just a lot of times what people see when they look at the blueprints or the drawings, they see something on there, they're not understanding that is not mobile. And you also have to look at multiple sheets to be able to see what is furniture, what's built in, and sometimes you even have to go to see where your AV and your electrical is at. And so in that case, there should be no reason why we couldn't move your furniture to the outside. I think there was a concern about being able to pass through the desks and for instruction to be able to help out.
Construction, Yeah.
The seating, it was just shown as a design, that's it, a layout, if you will. And so that layout can be set however the teachers would like to see that. Storage spaces, we did look at a few other ones. We made recommendations on some doors to be able to have half lights instead of being, closed out, or small light windows that all can be made easily adjusted. We did meet with SPED as far as concern with their area as well. We did find one adjustment, but it's literally just moving from one room to another, make a couple small adjustments there. Nothing that can't be done, because of what our concern is once the structure and the drawings and everything's been bid off of that, that's where our concern would be. At this point, it's still, we could delete a restroom, add a door in, and then we got some stuff where we need it to be. All of it's captured by the cost.
Okay. One other thing on the CTE instruction was the number of classrooms. There was some concern that there is one less classroom space in there for CTE classes, the business marketing, finance, dollars and cents, that those. Yeah.
Lisa is more than willing to come up here. We did our counts on both schools. We actually looked at Bell as well. The numbers were the same, but she has more information she can share with you.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
So we did look at the layout today, and there are 2 classrooms for debate and speech that are adjacent to the CT classrooms. And just because of numbers, we feel that that could just be one debate speech classroom, and the other one could be a multi-purpose CTE classroom that's not a computer lab for those classes, because they're having mock interviews in there and so forth. So we thought that would be a more flexible space. Bell High School, their number of classrooms match up for them. Of course, Trinity's a larger enrollment, so that's the reason why they need the extra space. And honestly, who knows what's going to happen 5 to 6 years down the road with professional communication speech class that could come off as a graduation requirement. We don't know what's going to happen. Currently, it's only on 2 programs of study for CTE. So, and it also can be taught by an English teacher. So there's teachers at Trinity right now that are English certified who are teaching that class. So a designated space, a second classroom for speech and debate really wasn't needed. So we looked at that area, making that the flexible classroom for them.
Okay, I appreciate that because, in the current situation, they're all labs. So
Right.
it does make it difficult when you have those other types of classes. that don't
Absolutely.
really
And we
need-
talked about that today as well. And with the 5 designated labs, again, technology 5 years, 6 years down the road,
Right.
we may not have to have a standalone machine at every desk. We may be able to have laptops that are more robust that can run our office programs, so we can have more mobile seating in there as well. So lots to think about in the future, but again, I think the key is, and what we learned with the Buinger build, is that being flexible is a key, is very important, and also keeping your teachers involved. And so I know when we built the Buinger, we had our teachers involved every step of the way, from design, we had charrette meetings, to even picking the furniture. We brought furniture in for the kids to sit in. So my suggestion is, as we get a little bit further along in the process, bringing everybody to the table, having those conversations, making sure everybody's on the same page. I think we'll ease a lot of maybe the feelings that might be out there now among teachers. So
That will be helpful, I think. I think it's just the input.
the input and
from the
being
staff
heard, being heard, exactly. And there's a lot of projects going on, so it's
yeah.
a lot to keep up with.
Well, it is a lot. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I
Anything else?
appreciate
Any other questions about CT?
it. No, about CTE, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to, what Lisa was talking about, that flexibility, and that's the thing, is we don't know what will change. We don't know, so if we can keep those classrooms where they can easily be converted into something else, using the furniture, and then, the idea to see the furniture, Josh was talking about, as we get to that time, he's going to start bringing in those pieces of furniture over at the ASF so people can come out and see it. And so depending on what pieces he's brought in, different groups will be able to come out and see the furniture that they're looking at.
Great. Josh, I've only got one more question in regards to this. As far as an outdoor space for our SPED kids at
Yes, ma'am.
Trinity, what is the situation with that?
I'm sorry, situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we talked about this, it's been a couple months ago, and I didn't get a chance to look really in depth at all of that when I was looking at, but That's my question is.
So we looked at it again today, and it's been a little while, but we've looked at it since Mr. Pugh has been the principal, and I brought in Tricia Demery, who's, we have a new coordinator over alternate curriculum, but she just started last week. So Tricia knows Trinity very well and spends a lot of time there. So one thing about that area, you have the PALS room, and our PALS population now is all medically fragile. So most of the students are in wheelchairs, some of them are in reclining wheelchairs, some of them have a nurse all day. They can use the outdoor space. There is a way for the wheelchairs to go out there. There's also already in the plan, there's some flexible seating. So there's some areas, some like picnic table looking areas, and some of them a wheelchair can come up to because it's missing a seat. So it's designed for wheelchair accessibility. The bigger thing that's exciting is most of our students are in FOSSI now. And so we have 4 FOSSI classes. And so they're all in that same hallway. So like we had the W building in the past, they are part of the school instead of being separate, but they also have their own space. We've tried in the W building before, well, we have it now in the library as well. We have an egress that Josh and I came up with. We had a student that sometimes likes to get out of the building. And so we have a delayed egress. So it meets fire standards, and that's our plan for this whole building is, they can still get out, but they have to press down on the bar for 5 minutes, 15 seconds. I timed it one time.
Not 5 minutes.
Not 5 minutes, that's too long. 15 seconds, okay, 5 minutes, they could burn it. But in time for the adults to get to him before they can get out of the building. So it gives us a hot minute to go, wait, whoa, where is this kid? And get to that kid very quickly. So our plan is that outdoor space, it is fenced in. It is not a cyclone fence. And that was my request, that it be something that is appropriate and looks dignified. And so it is going to be a wrought iron fence, and there's going to be an area where FOSSI students can have their own garden and kind of do some of the work there. We've done that with our MARC students at North Euless, and so that's kind of my vision, is where they can have an outdoor area where they can work and they can kind of create something.
So there is actually a different space aside from that great big turfed area?
Oh, yes.
Okay, because that's what I
Yes.
couldn't see in the
It's on the
plan.
other side.
Okay.
It's right on the other side of the FOSSI area, right? Yes.
That's good.
There is.
Okay, because that was my concern. We weren't able to see that, or
Yeah.
it just wasn't apparent when we were looking there at it.
Yes,
So-
and we can look at that with you.
Sounds great.
So, okay.
I
Any
like
other
it.
questions on
Nope, on
special ed? Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, so last call for questions. No more? All right, thank you, Josh.
All right, thank you.
I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.